Hey family, I'm glad that you're back with me. I'm here today and I want to talk about what men need in relationship. This is a question that have gone all around the world, and there are many women that just want to know, what is it that good men want and what are good men looking for? So before we do that, I want you to do something for me. I want you to look below. I want you to click the like. I need your likes as well as I need your subscription. So join the community, be a part of us. So now let's talk about what do men need. Believe it or not, there are many men that are challenged with fear. And that fear is not something that the woman has created. So the man is not just walking around feeling intimidated because she has more resources, or she is more intelligent, or she has greater opportunities. Sometimes the man is walking around with this fear that has been created out of his own subculture, how he was raised, the type of friends that he hang around, as well as he includes his own failures into that equation. There are so many men that are afraid to succeed and excel. It will surprise you. We're talking about men that may have a substantial amount of income, men that may have great potential, men that may have an amazing personality, but inside of them, they could be challenged with fear. So what do men need? Men need, they don't need caretakers, but they need someone that can push them to confidence, being able to face that fear that torments them on the inside. I know. Every woman listening to me right now is saying, I try to do that. How in the world am I supposed to help him move beyond this phase that he's in? Well, I'm here today to tell you, there's a thin line in him figuring out problems all by himself. Sometimes you will find, women of God, you will find that men, they need consistency. This is some of the things that men need. Men need consistency without condemnation. There are so many men that feel timid. I know you're a woman. I know you've seen us do this, that the man feels timid, where he doesn't really fully engage and he doesn't really fully attack because of that timidness there. Well, I know you're saying, well, I didn't create this timid situation for him. Well, you might need to take into consideration some of the rejection that he may have experienced. You might need to take also into consideration some of the failures that he might have experienced. So one of the things that become complex in a man's life is comfort zones. A man sometimes can live so much in his comfort zone that he moves as slow as a turtle. And I know that's one of those things that frustrate you, because you're saying, well, I need a man that's going to lead me. I need a man that's going to have initiative. I need a man that's going to really take charge. Well, when you've come into contact with a man that has had a substantial amount of trauma, a substantial amount of failure, he has a tendency of moving much slower than a man that has experienced success. Now, this is not suggesting that the man that has experienced success has not had trouble or trauma, but what it is saying that the man that has experienced success has figured out how to push himself beyond the trauma, beyond the hardship or the hindrance. So one way that you can help him is, one, by telling him you understand that this is hard for him. Rather than beating him up, beating him down, rather than telling him what he should be doing, why not tell him that you understand? Because sometimes what helps the man to disarm himself and disengage from that fear is when he can find comfort and trust in consistency, someone that's going to be present with him. Believe it or not, men need conversation. There are so many men that are not even given the opportunity to have conversation. My brothers and sisters, you're listening to me today, and I'm being honest. The man needs conversation. Sometimes he needs your listening ear so he can get that thought out of his head. He's not talking to you because he wants it to be right. He's not looking for it to be grammatically correct. He's not even looking for you to even accept his idea. But he needs a moment where he can be heard. Why? Because there are so many men that have never been given an opportunity to even share. And this man, he's not always looking to share about how he feels romantically. He's not always looking to have a moment where he can be emotional. Sometimes he needs to talk through the complex ideas that he has gathered in his mind that he doesn't know how to release. He's not looking for a fix-it person all the time. He understands that sometimes it may be trouble or it even may even sound crazy. He understands that. But when he's building trust, he wants to have the courtesy to be able to speak his slanderous ideas, to be able to share his outrageous thoughts and not be criticized for them. You would be surprised how many men actually build trust with women in that space of engagement. There are so many things that men need that sometimes they don't get a chance to even verbalize that they need this. There are many women that believe that men need men. Do you know what men need? Men, yes, they need time with men. Yeah, they need time away, but more so, what a man needs, he needs opportunity. The greatest thing that a man can experience is success when he walks through the door of opportunity. Now, there's something in the nature of us as men that causes us to just walk through challenge and face challenge and really contest hard things. There are many men that are sitting around with shame, guilt, and embarrassment because they didn't maximize on opportunities. Whether it was choices and decisions when in their adolescent years, their teenage years, maybe they did not pursue a professional degree. You would be surprised how many men are sitting around and they are feeling defeated. Men need encouragement. Have you ever considered, have you figured how much easier it is for women to give rather than men to give? Sometimes this comes from the complex of failures that men have not even come to a place of peace or reconciliation. Listen, you can find a good man, a man that has potential, a man that knows what he wants, a man that has some direction, but a good man does not need a mother. So when you are engaging with that man, make sure that you're not trying to duplicate who his mother's identity is. What that man needs, he needs you to be who you are. All right, he doesn't need a commentary all the time about how he messed this up or he didn't do this or if you fix this one thing. I'm going to tell you something that's interesting. In Proverbs, the Bible says it's better for the man to be on the rooftop than in the house with a nagging woman. Let me tell you why. There are so many men that try to put their best foot forward and they feel defeated if they are engaging with a woman that is never satisfied, that is never happy. She is never smiling about anything. That goes beyond money, that goes beyond buying materialistic things, that go beyond just giving her all of her wants. Some men want to know that his presence in your life, that's what they want to know, that just his mere presence in your life brings joy to him. And you just would be surprised, women of God, how many men are just longing for that moment to identify that their presence has value and not who they are. Not what they bring to the table is what increased their value. Where men need prayer. Men just don't need prayer just because there's something bad that is happening. Men need prayer all the time because it is hard out here being a man of any race. Men need prayer. All right. Some other things that men need. Men need the opportunity to fail, but not be condemned. Helping a man. I know one of the challenges that you face is trying to figure out through our complexity, how in the world can you help a man become motivated? How can you help a man feel supported? And how can you even let a man know that you are there? So, in my conclusion, I want to give you these things today. One, how can you help a man become motivated? You do not do that by reminding him of his failures and his fears. Neither do you do that by comparing him to another man that has already achieved what it is that he may be aspiring to accomplish. One way to motivate him and to inspire him is to, one, let him know what you've seen. And listen, not letting him know what he's done great for you, but just let him know that you've seen his change in himself and just trying to be a better person. You'd be surprised how much that increases the heart of a man. Number two, being supportive. Being supportive for men are big on presence. I know, women of God, I know we do a poor job at being present, but we are so petty sometimes as men that we are big at presence, that who are standing with us. And not just standing with us, but being with us in the pain that we encounter, as well as being with us in victorious moments. I want you to think of it this way. I want you to go back and look at the professionals that you've seen, whether they're artists or athletes. I want you to think about when they give any commentary about who's been in their life. They always acknowledge the people that's been there. And most of the time, they are acknowledging people that travel with them or journey with them through pain. And they remain consistent. So men are big on consistency, even though sometimes we are challenged with displaying that consistency. The third thing is, how do you just help a man understand that he has greatness? This is done, my sisters, by being the type of person that says, I'm okay with who you are, but I know that there's more on the inside of you. One of the things that causes women to create a challenge for men is when you put the man on a timeline that he can't meet. Now, I know you're saying, but he could just do it if he wants to. If he just do this, then it'll change. For some men, you just don't know what they are working through emotionally, working through psychologically. You don't know what they are working through, which creates the timeline for them. Sometimes men move slower. Sometimes we move very fast. But those men that are moving slower, you don't know what they are really working through. And the reason for that is because we don't go through any relationship classes. No one teaches us how to communicate. Sometimes it is like 1 out of 10 times that you may run into a guy that communicates well. On average, the 9 other guys, they hold it all in. They compartmentalize. They don't really share a lot. And if you pressure them to talk, they feel discombobulated, disoriented, they're shut down, or either they will lash out. And when they lash out, it throws you off as a woman. You don't want to communicate anymore. And that all could be because the man is wounded. He's working through some things, and he hasn't figured out how to verbalize his own pain. So some things that a man needs, he needs patience. A man needs support. How do you support him? How do you help him? A man needs, there are many men that just wish they had someone that could just be present with them. And being present is not just in verbiage, or being present is just not in deed. But being present is also being available to hear him when he cries. Being present is also being available to be silent when he can't figure it out. Being available is also being the voice of reason when he thinks no one else is listening. Some great things that men cherish in their heart is when you are able to repeat those things that he did not even know that you were sharing. Now, there are some men, they do have the complex where they are not good at surprises. All right. Do not be upset about that. Just some men are wired that way. And the reason for that is because they may have suffered some challenges in their life that has caused them to just really be apprehensive about surprises, because they don't know if there's going to be any backlash or retaliation or something that's going to come back towards them adversely. Men need room. Now, this needing room doesn't mean that you have to just be in the other room or, You have to just leave them alone. But men need space. Now, the last thing, and then we're closing. Men need the opportunity to say that they need help. When a man says that he needs help, it does not work well for many men to have to give a commentary of why he needs help. It doesn't work well for many men to try to have to explain what happened, when it happened. There are so many men that have been fighting by themselves for so long that they don't know how to receive help. They don't know how to receive the love. So it requires you to learn the man for who he is. Because if you try to compare him to the other man, I promise you it's going to do something on the inside of him. You don't even compare him to your father. There could be some attributes that the man have that may remind you of who your father is. But that man needs that moment to hear how he has benefited in your life. And you should be able to identify that, because there are so many men that don't get a chance ever to hear that. So praise him, celebrate him. But at the same time, find a way to embrace him. Because here's one thing that I can tell you about us as men. When you build trust with a man, he'll take on the world for you. Don't sabotage the trust because of emotional moments. But when you build trust with a man, he will take on the world for you. Because sometimes the only thing that he has that is valuable in his life is the trust that he shares with you. Hey, make sure you hit the like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel. There's more content that is on the way.